Hi, I am an active duty Navy lieutenant, a mama to my beautiful daughter Sloan of 4 months old. My name is Charlotte, and I am a miraculous mama.
Hey everyone, welcome to Miraculous Mamas. If you were just tuning in, this is a podcast that believes in empowering women through storytelling and education. We bring on a lot of different experts and people from all different walks of life to share either their expertise or their journeys with us so that we can continue to learn and better ourselves and just grow in community together and with each other and individually. And I'm so glad that you guys are here listening today. I have a super exciting episode, you guys. So we're going to talk about something that I wish that I did more of, and I'm trying. That's a lie. I'm not trying. I want to try to do more of, and I believe soon I will try it again. And that is yoga. I can't believe that we have gone this long and not done a yoga episode or about it at all, because there is tons of benefits for, especially in trying to conceive or pregnancy, postpartum in children. And that's exactly what we are going to talk about today. I have two different guests for you. And the first one is Jen. She is awesome. She is an author and she is an educator. She works with children doing yoga, but it goes so much deeper than that. It's more into getting into your body, processing your emotions, learning how to cultivate trust within yourself and with others. The work that she does is absolutely incredible. And then I have Hannah on, who is also doing incredible work with moms, and she does prenatal and postnatal yoga, but her practice also goes so much deeper than that. It's not just, like the videos that you pop in and do a prenatal yoga course. She goes into even like releasing your fears around birth, identifying what they are, releasing them, how to get in tune with your body throughout labor and delivery. She goes so much deeper as well. So I have two amazing women on who are going to share their stories and just educate us on why there even is a yoga awareness month. I don't think I said that. September is the National Yoga Month. So it is observed, and it was designated by the Department of Health and Human Services to educate about the health benefits of yoga and to help inspire people to have healthy lifestyles. So I wanted to take that opportunity. It's the end of the month, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to talk about yoga. And also these people kind of just fell into my lap. It was so crazy. I was like, maybe I should do a yoga episode. And literally that week, these two people came out of nowhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are doing such incredible work and you're so awesome. I have to get you on the podcast. So the timing was just perfect. So I'm super excited for you guys to hear from them. And I can't wait to hear what we all learn. All right, everyone. I have Jennifer Cohen Harper here, who wrote an amazing kids book. She's actually written a lot of books, I just found out. But we're going to talk about her Thank You Body, Thank You Heart book that she wrote for children, and it focuses on yoga. And she's just an awesome person and making a difference in the world. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I would love for you just to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So first off, I'm a mom. I have two little girls, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I also am the founder of an organization called Little Flower Yoga. So we've been teaching yoga and mindfulness primarily in New York City public schools since 2006. We work directly with students, but we also do a lot of professional development with teachers, with mental health care providers, and more we're offering family engagement programming as our schools, at least in New York, recognize more and more the impact of the entire family on the child's education. So we've been working with kids, working with teachers, working with parents and guardians for many years. And of course, as my own children have been growing up, I've been able to add many layers of knowledge to that work that I've been doing in the education field. And Thank You Body, Thank You Heart is the first book that I've written directly for kids. All of my other work supports parents and educators. So I'm particularly excited about this one.
Yeah, that's so cool. I would love to have you talk to us, I guess, a little bit about what incorporating yoga into an education system or into children's lives even looks like.
Absolutely. So my background is really coming from working with kids, particularly kids who'd experienced trauma, coming from education and being interested in children's social emotional learning and development. And the yoga came after. So I really worked with kids, and my passion, my interest was whatever works. And then as my own personal practice became stronger and was such a source of healing for me, it became very clear to me that that was really all I wanted to do with kids. And I quickly pivoted to that being my full-time gig. And when I talk about bringing yoga and mindfulness to children, it's really about helping them connect with their sense of inner resources. So a lot of our kids are really walking around in the world basically assuming that how they feel is determined by what happens to them. My mom's having a bad day, so I'm having a bad day kind of thing. And my work has been all about helping kids recognize that first of all, that they have inner resources, their body, their breath, their mindset, that these are things that they can pay attention to, and they're things that they can use once they learn to connect with and use them. They can use them to change their day-to-day experience of their life for the better. And I don't think it's a cure-all or a panacea. Really hard things are happening every day for our kids. But they can't even work to make their own situation better. They can't even, advocate for themselves if they're not grounded in what they're thinking and feeling and accessing those inner resources that we all have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think about it, when we were kids, it really was a different time. Kids these days are bombarded with so much information and so many outside resources that we just didn't even have access to as children. So I can't even imagine being a kid in this world today and having to learn how to process all of that on top of just learning how to function in a world.
Absolutely. Even in the 14 years I've been teaching, I'm seeing every single year anxiety levels in kids just skyrocketing. And I think some of it is just sensory overload. They have so much coming in all the time, and the nervous system is not designed to process that much information so quickly. And, schools are really getting on board with the idea that if kids are overwhelmed, if they're overstimulated, if they're fearful, their minds can't learn. They literally can't learn. They can't process information. They can't store it in long-term memory. Learning doesn't start until people feel safe. And for our kids, being able to feel at home in their body and being able to understand what's happening to their nervous system goes a long way. Because if you don't understand something, it's scary and threatening. If kids can say, okay, all this has been happening. That's why I feel this way right now. I'm going to take a break, or I'm going to, do this X, Y, and Z, check in with this tool, check in with this person, use this breathwork practice. Our programming and the work that I've been doing with families, a lot of it is oriented towards helping kids understand what they're experiencing in the moment first. So just having a basic awareness of what's making me feel this way. And then the next step is, okay, is there a tool? Do I have a resource, either an inner resource like my breath, or going for a walk, using my body to change my energetic or emotional state? And we also talk about the resources of other people. Is there somebody in my community I can connect with, whether it's another kid or an adult? So in that conversation about resources, I'm always talking with parents about, can we help our kids understand their inner resources, and can we help them understand their outer resources? Who are the people in the community that they can go to in different types of situations? Yeah. And it's not enough to be like, oh, this is my best friend, because your best friend might be great at this, but not that, right? So if I'm feeling this way, who do I go to? If I'm feeling this way, who can help? And that idea of knowing that you have resources automatically helps settle anxiety.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I know that a lot of anxiety sometimes comes from the paralysis by analysis. Like, you're so overwhelmed that you can't move. You don't know where to turn to, or how to even handle it. Like, it can be so overwhelming. So knowing oh, okay, so when I'm feeling like this is what I do. Or when I'm feeling like that, that's what I do. That's so cool. All right. So there's tons of buzz out there around CBD. And by now, everyone's kind of heard about it, but there's also a lot of misinformation out there, and not all CBD is created equally, which is super important to know if you're looking to get into that market. And I've been using Hemp Fusion CBD, which I absolutely love because they understand that our bodies already make cannabinoids and that the plant-based CBD helps naturally balance our body out. And they don't just offer CBD. Hemp Fusion is CBD plus omegas plus terpenes to help you feel 100%. And they add in other natural ingredients to help create products that help specifically with stress, sleep, and energy. And let's face it, we all deal with one of those in our life. Either we have trouble sleeping, or we have a little bit of stress, or we could use a little bit more energy. I've been using the Hemp Fusion Twist. It's the CBD with omegas, the citrus ginger with turmeric, and I love it. It tastes good. It's vegan. It has organic ingredients in it. And it's just so cool that they combined both of them together because they understand how your body works, and that CBD will help when you have other nutrients. If you're just adding it to an already depleted system, you're not going to reap the benefits that you could. And Hemp Fusion, it's available online and at some retailers near you. It also ships anywhere in the United States, and we have an awesome offer for you guys. You guys can get 20% off with the promo code MAMAS and free shipping off of your first order at hempfusion.com. That's promo code MAMAS at hempfusion.com. Get Hemp Fusion shipped anywhere in the United States and 20% off with code MAMAS. And remember, when you support our sponsors, you support this podcast. So where does, I guess, yoga kind of come into all of it?
Yeah. So yoga, the piece that I think is missing for a lot of our kids is embodiment and awareness of what bodily sensations mean. The ability to interpret what's going on in our own body is something that our culture just doesn't really value. And if you just kind of throw kids into the mix of this culture, embodiment is stripped away from them. And as a mom, I've had to realize even how I do that with my own kids. And I know this, right? But I still do things like, put on your coat. I'm not cold. Yes, you are. Like those sorts of things. Sometimes you just need to put on the coat, but also telling a kid that they're cold when they don't feel cold, or telling them that they have to go to the bathroom when they don't feel like they have to go to the bathroom. If that's just the soup that they live in all the time, kind of teaches them not to trust their own body. And that is really anxiety producing because our body gives us information about what's going on in the world. And that's how the nervous system is designed to work. Our senses gather information and our body experiences that information and we interpret it. But if our whole lives we've been taught to ignore what's going on in our own body, then we don't interpret it. Mm-hmm. So we don't get the heads up like, oh, I'm clenching my jaw. My fists are really tight. Like I better pay attention to how I'm feeling. So a lot of the work that I do with yoga and kids is about reconnecting with what's happening in the body. And for kids who've experienced trauma, this is even more extreme because their disembodiment can be much more severe, right? To the point of actually not knowing what's going on with them, not knowing when they're hungry, not knowing when they have to go to the bathroom because their survival mechanism has been disconnect from my body. So that reintegration with the body is what I do. And it doesn't always look a lot like what people think a yoga class might look like. But I spend a lot of time asking kids like, okay, while you're in this pose, can you tell me what part of your body is working? What part of your body is relaxing? Can you describe the sensation? Point to where you feel the sensation and then tell me, like, is it a stretching sensation? Is it a strength sensation? And really just helping kids notice what they're feeling, put name to what they're feeling, and learn that paying attention to their own body is worth it, is valid. It matters. What they think about their own experience matters. Wow. So that's the first step. And then the idea of using your body as a resource is like, okay, now that you know what's going on with your body, can we pay attention to how these different types of practices make you feel? So if you're feeling X and you really want to move towards this, what's in your toolkit? What can you do to help you? but we can't help if we don't first practice re-embodiment. If we don't help our kids know what they're feeling, then all of these things like use your resources and change the way you feel, it doesn't mean anything if they don't know where they're starting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. That's such powerful work. I mean, I'm thinking about how we need that as adults too, because I feel like even now we've been told for so long, don't pay attention, don't pay attention. And that's something that I see in the women's healthcare all the time now. It's like, oh no, you're not having that symptom. Oh no, you're really not experiencing this pain. Oh no, that's not what's really going on. And it's like, no, this is what's going on. And you've are made to feel like you're crazy because nobody's listening. And if that's a practice that you can start when you're young, like that has to make such a huge difference.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. And I think during pregnancy and childbirth, it's like skyrockets, you know, and there's research around this, around how women's concerns and women's reporting of pain are diminished. And I know, you know, during my pregnancies, I was very fortunate to have a midwife and have a doula and have I had an acupuncturist. I mean, I had like so much support during my pregnancies, but still sometimes I felt like I was crazy, you know, and I have this practice and these resources, and I still sometimes felt like, is this real? Like what I'm experiencing, can I trust it? Is this real? Am I making this up in my mind? Because I think we so often, exactly what you're saying, our internal experience is diminished. And I really, really didn't want that for my kids. And I saw it happening really early. And the most shocking thing was how sometimes it was coming from me when I just fell into patterns and habits, you know, when I was exhausted or like not very well resourced myself, the things that I would default to just because it was, you know, what I grew up with and what our culture is, were sometimes not the most positive embodying things. And I feel really grateful that at least I was aware enough to notice and repair when needed, but also to make a really intentional point of going forward in my child rearing to think about the long game. And sometimes I have to sacrifice the expediency or like what I really want to happen right now for the long game of how I want my kids to experience their own body and their own mind. And that's really where Thank You Body, Thank You Heart came from, because I've been putting all these tools and resources out in the world, but I wanted to have something that spoke to children directly the way I'm trying to speak to my kids. And what that is all about paying a lot of attention to what their body can do, and what it feels like, and trying to get some of the focus off of what their bodies look like, which is really hard. I've got two really cute little girls and it's like a blessing and a curse. And I have to, for myself, my parents, strangers, like everybody, oh, so cute, so cute. And like with the cute little clothes and the cute, and, you know, I don't want them to feel badly around looking nice. Like that's not what we're going for. But I also wanted another narrative for them and sort of the constant voice in their head to be like, hey, your feet worked really hard today. You know, let's give them some rest. Or, you know, what's going on with your belly? And it not be like, how big is your belly? It's like, wow, what did your belly work hard to do today? And let's be grateful for the ways in which our body make it possible for us to be alive and engage with the world. And that book, I hope, you know, for my kids and for other kids, I hope provides a counter narrative that sticks. You know, I tried to write it in a way where, you know, it rhymes and it's easy to remember, because I want it to stick. You know, I want it to be something that kids hear when they're young. And then when they hear these competing messages about their self-worth that come from our world, I want them so badly to have another narrative firmly in their mind that is super easy for them to access.
Wow. That is so cool. I love that how you were talking about, just that counter narrative, because that is something that is so needed in our culture. I mean, there's tons of, you know, you get blasted with with all this information of this is how people should look or feel, or this is what's healthy, this is what's not. And there are so many movements now that are working against that and that are opening up the conversation and being more inclusive, but you don't really see that much around kids. So that is so cool that you are creating that conversation and just having that book in your toolkit to have at home to read and to be able to refer back to, and like starting that with your kids at a young age.
Yeah, thank you.
That's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah. I really appreciate it. I think we underestimate how early it starts, the messages about self-worth being connected to what you look like in your body. And of course, I have 2 daughters, so that's, in my perspective, but I don't think it's that much different for boys. It's different in terms of the content, but the overwhelming sense that they have to be a particular way and look a particular way and use their body in a particular way in order to be valued in our culture. I don't think that's different. I think it affects girls and boys, and really young. I mean, we see eating disorders in very young kids. I see my 6-year-old, she's in 1st grade, starting to care more and more about the way she looks. And, just a year or 2 ago, it was like, it was totally irrelevant, and now I see her looking at herself in the mirror, and instead of like making funny faces, she's like moving her hair around. And I'm just like, I don't want to send her the message that she shouldn't care about her hair. Like, it's not about, being like negative about caring about how you look or having fun with clothes, I want it to be comprehensive. I want it to be both. And especially when it comes to her body and eating and exercise. And, I want her to grow up, both my daughters, to grow up having a relationship to food and exercise that focuses on how they feel. And I think that's really hard to come by here, even though it's out there. I feel it myself, as a woman, as a mom, I get on these like podcasts and I'm like, wait, is it video or just audio? What do I have to do to my hair? Do I need to wear makeup? And I'm like, I haven't worn makeup in years, but then I get on something where I'm being recorded and I'm like, is what I have to say enough? Right. And, if I'm grappling with that at 40, like what chance does a 6-year-old have really?
No, that's so true. All right, I'm going to tell you guys about my favorite protein bar, which I have told you about before, and that is Perfect Bar. It is amazing. I'm obsessed with the coconut peanut butter flavor. Vito likes the peanut butter chocolate, anything with chocolate, basically, he loves, or peanut butter. But we've tried a few of the different flavors, and they're all so good, and it is kind of just the perfect little thing for me on the go. I absolutely love them. And Perfect Snacks line of fresh from the fridge protein bars. They're made with freshly ground nut butter and up to 17 grams of whole food protein and 20 superfoods, all combined to create a cookie dough-like texture that is as nutritious as it is delicious. And that is true. I feel like I'm eating cookie dough when I eat them because they are so delicious. And Perfect Kids are snack bars crafted especially for the kiddos. There's 8 kid-friendly superfoods, a bar size just for them, and that same amazing cookie dough-like taste and texture that they will love as well. We actually stocked our fridge with the Perfect Kids snacks bars because we don't have kids yet, but we have a lot of nieces and nephews that come over and we don't know what to feed them. So we have our fridge stocked with the perfect snacks for the kids, and they love them. I feel like they want to come over here just to eat more of them because they are delicious. And I'm not going to lie, we may or may not have eaten some of the kids' bars as well. But all of the Perfect Snack products, they're kept refrigerated for optimal taste and texture, and they stay fresh for up to 1 week outside of the fridge. They're perfect to take on the go wherever you need a snack and to avoid any meltdowns. In addition to tasting good, these bars will help you feel good because they're non-GMO project verified, gluten-free, soy-free, kosher, low GI, and made in the USA. Plus, with delicious flavors like dark chocolate peanut butter and coconut butter. So good. Coconut peanut butter and almond butter, you won't have to sacrifice the taste for health. And right now, Perfect Bars is offering you 15% off your online order. So go to perf.bar/mamas. Shop their refrigerated snacks at perf.bar/mamas today to get 15% off your order. It's a great snack to throw in your kids' lunches as well. So go to perf.bar/mamas to get 15% off your order today. Make your day a little more perfect. I would love to hear about how the work that you're doing, how you've seen the changes, I guess, in the kids that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it kind of depends because I work in different contexts. My sort of heart work, of course, more and more has been around families and parenting. But where this all started for me was with kids who've experienced trauma. And that's really where the strongest area of focus is for me and where I always go back to. When you do things to support kids who've experienced trauma, you learn a lot about what all kids need and about how to create resilience so that those really hard things don't leave such a scar, don't have as much of a long-term impact. And so anyway, to answer your question, my greatest area of experience is around working with those kids who, for various reasons, often related to interpersonal violence and violence within the home, had a really hard time being in authentic relationship with other people. So, and what I mean by that is, I've worked with a lot of kids who went in one of two directions, either like super people pleaser, like their entire focus of their life when they're with other people is, what do I need to do to make this person love me, to make this person like me so that I'm safe, right? So they're not paying any attention to their own experience. They're totally focused on that other person and what the other person needs. Or kids who have built brick walls between them and everyone else and really just pulled back and shut down in any kind of engagement. And there are a lot of benefits to bringing yoga and mindfulness to kids, from improved emotional regulation, better focus. But for me, the most profound change is helping kids to find a way to engage with other people that's true to them, right? That I say like to be an authentic relationship, which means being able to discern who's a good person for me to connect with and who's not. How does being with this person make me feel? To be able to pay attention and be compassionate towards someone else without losing track of how they're feeling and what's going on for them, and if what they're getting in the relationship is positive and reinforcing. So really that idea of being able to it sounds kind of corny, but, love and be with myself while I'm with someone else. That's been a huge change that is the most gratifying one for me when I'm working with kids. Because if we can't be in relationship with other people while still taking care of ourselves, that has extremely profound impact on the rest of our lives. Right? It's hard to be in a workplace. It's hard to be in a long-term relationship. It's hard to be a parent if you can't simultaneously take care of yourself and someone else. So when I'm working with kids and I see that they can't be in relationship and caring for themselves while they're in the presence of others, to me, that's the highest goal. And it's been really amazing to see that unfolding for kids.
Wow. Your work it has to be so rewarding because what you're doing is absolutely amazing. I didn't even know that this existed out there. So that's so cool.
Slow and steady strides. We've been around since 2006. There are other organizations that are really, really wonderful that share yoga and mindfulness for kids with a similar emphasis on healing and resilience building. But I got to say, like in 2006, I was literally knocking on doors, like cold calling schools, sticking like flyers under the door. Like I lived in New York City at the time, and I was just walking block by block, like putting flyers under school doors. But now we have a waiting list of schools. We work directly with the New York City Department of Education. We work with the UFT, the United Federation of Teachers. We have much more demand for school-based programming than we can possibly meet. And that, I think, is really dramatic. In a little over a decade, things have changed so much that I think it will be more common for parents to understand the value of these types of practices and this type of way of thinking. Because it's not just the practices, it's also, I always say, like, if we can live in our own practice, whether it's yoga or some other practice that helps us be reflective and helps us find our personal power without trampling all over other people, right? When we can do that as parents, just our presence is a resource for our kids. Our modeling of this way of being that is true to ourselves and valuing our own self-worth, but also valuing others. If we can live like that, then we change the culture. Then we change that soup our kids grow up in, and it's less important for them to have these concrete practices, whether it's the breath work or the physical practice. Not that that's not a nice bonus, but my big picture hope is that the culture shifts in ways that those deliberate practices are less essential, because the normal day-to-day is to value your own internal experience and value the experience of others, because that's what you've grown up with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like we're in also a weird cultural, it seems to be like one extreme or the other, where it's all about like valuing your own experience, but it's at the cost of others. Or like you said, kind of like the people pleasing, it's about the other person's experience at the cost of yourself. So finding that balance is super hard, I think, in day-to-day life, being able to, step into who you are and acknowledging, your own experiences, but also the person that you're interacting with has their own set of experiences that you're interacting with. So being able to like honor and respect and interpret and do all that with the other people that's life, right?
Absolutely. It is. And, it's as silly as it sounds for me, I find it helpful to kind of keep like little phrases in my mind with adults, with kids. One of the things since having kids, and I always did this in teaching, but it's even more important with my own kids, is I'm constantly saying to myself, she's not giving me a hard time, she's having a hard time. And it shifts my awareness and it shifts my heart a little. And then I tried doing it like with my husband and my mom and my sister. And I was like, oh yeah, like this is not all about me. This person's not giving me a hard time. This person's having a hard time. And it softens me, automatically, without having to do anything else, without having to think through, well, what might they be trying to say or what might they be experiencing? I don't have to do too many like mental gymnastics or breath work or anything. If I'm just like, oh, they're not giving me a hard time, they're having a hard time. I also try to remember that every assumption that I make about somebody's intention is probably wrong, right? We always know so little about what's going on with somebody else. And that's true for our kids too. Even the ones that live in our house, even the ones we give birth to, my kids go to school and I know like this much about their experience during the day. No matter how much I try to know, I just don't know the whole of what's going on for them. And it helps me when I remind myself of that, because it broadens the range of possibilities for why their behavior or actions or words are coming out the way they're coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool, because I feel like it's also just mindful parenting as well, which parenting's hard. I mean, I haven't done it yet, and it's probably the thing I'm most scared of. So, it is hard. It's hard when you just throw a mix of people all together and then you have to figure it all out, how to coexist.
Oh yeah. Parenting, it's the thing that I find so fascinating, endlessly fascinating about being a parent, is how much it doesn't allow you to run away from yourself. There's just no escaping who you are, like for better or worse, for all the good, for all the challenge, like everything that at least for me, like parenting has just been a huge mirror. Like, oh, that's interesting. And what I keep saying, oh, that's interesting. What can I learn from that? Like, I wonder if, or wow, didn't know that was still an issue for me. Things that you think are over or in the past, for me and many other parents I've spoken with, they come back around when you have your own kids, and you just have to grapple with the full spectrum of human emotion, and you have to deal with your past because it doesn't stay in the past when you have kids.
Right. That's very true. That is very true. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. Where can people find out more about you and find your book?
Thank you for asking. So the probably the best place to find out about my work in general is at our website, littlefloweryoga.com. There's a page about the book as well as my past work on there. If you are a parent who's interested in bringing these practices to your kids' school, there's a lot of resources there as well. Also just practices that you can do, videos, audio recordings, things like that you can do with your own kids. And then Thank You Body, Thank You Heart is in all the basic book places, Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all that kind of stuff.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much, Jen, for coming on and talking with us and giving us a different perspective and sharing your work and your book with us. I just want to thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. I really appreciate it.
Of course. I absolutely love the work that Jen is doing. When she was just talking about how she works with kids and helping them get into their bodies and process their emotions, that is just so cool and so needed. That is not even something that I had really thought about before. But if you guys are listening to this, I want to send you, I'm going to send one listener a free copy of her book. And, but you have to screenshot that you're listening to it, put it up on your Instagram and tag Miraculous Mamas, and we will select a winner to receive Jen's book. I have a copy on the way to me for my personal collection as well, and which I'm super excited to read. And I think it also makes us like a good gift for people who are having kids, putting together a little mommy basket and having that, like she said, in your toolkit as a resource, even just as a parent or as an aunt, I guess in my case. But as we were talking, like it does start with parenting, and parenting is such a crazy time and it is so hard, but I'm going to bring on another guest who, she does prenatal yoga and postnatal yoga. She has an amazing company and she talks to us all about, starting in that time of your life, the health benefits, how it, even helps with your labor, how it helps afterwards, and building community. Hannah Day is a moga instructor, and she's absolutely awesome, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear what she has to say. All right, everyone, I have Hannah Day here with me, and I'm super excited to talk to her because I was thinking the other day how we have never talked about yoga on this podcast. A year and a half in, never talked about yoga, which blows my mind. And she is a yoga instructor. She does prenatal and postnatal yoga with mom and baby. She teaches a lot of other things, and I'll have her talk about that as well. But it is Yoga Awareness Month. So thank you for joining us, Hannah. I have another Canadian here. I feel like half of my guests are from Canada, so I should probably just move.
I love that.
They are. I didn't even know you were from Canada until I saw your phone number, and I'm like, oh, of course she's Canadian. Most of my guests are.
So funny.
Yeah, so thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah. I'm really excited to tell you anything pre-postnatal yoga. I'm your girl.
Awesome. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into it all.
So I grew up in a really small town, and when I went to university, the first thing I did was get a job at Lululemon, and like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And do yoga and work at Lululemon and go to university. And then I got a great job and I moved to Toronto, high stress job, high paying. And I realized that I needed, again, more balance because yoga brought that balance in my life. So in 2012, I did my yoga teacher training, the 200-hour. I've been practicing yoga since, 2007, but did my training. And then I realized even after doing, the 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 6, I was still able to teach in the evenings with energy. And not only that, I felt so good and so much better. It was like this life-giving, instead of life-sucking.
Yeah.
So then I just, did the training. I did any training I could do with anyone who was an expert in that area. I did it because Toronto's great for that. And they bring in there's a lot of great schools there and teachers and so I started to teach and, taught in condos, taught at yoga studios, and I just loved it. I loved how yoga helps people and how they just feel better when they move and when they, switch the monkey chatter brain off and they just sit with the breath in the body and land in the space. And you can see a shift in their bodies from hyper busy, a lot of us are just like buzzing nowadays, buzzing phones, buzzing brains, buzzing bodies. And then they sit in your class, they land in the space and they just kind of reset their bodies when they leave. So that's what I noticed. But then I just kept getting pregnant people showing up to my class.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say I just kept getting pregnant.
I just, all the balance. So good. Yeah, they just kept coming. And I was really like, I have no idea what to do here. This whole picture, I don't know what's safe. I don't know what you can do. I was just, why do they keep coming to me? What is it about me that these pregnant women keep coming to my normal classes? And so I did one prenatal training and then I did another and then I did another, and just any training that came up, I would go and I would learn so much more. And so I knew how to teach this population. And then not only that, I started just loving it and only offering prenatal yoga. My classes were full. I'm like, I'm doing something here that's speaking to people. And I think once we find something in our lives that fills us with, that drives us and we feel good after and we help empower people, you yourself feel full. So that for me was prenatal yoga. And I find it's a time in our lives as women where when you're not pregnant, you're like, oh yeah, I can understand you might feel a bit afraid about giving birth. When you're in it, it's so different. You're like, oh, this is, I taught for 6 years before I gave birth. And I thought, oh, this is the fear and anxiety that or the insomnia or whatever they're going through that my students would tell me about. And so, I was like, it really landed the importance of it for me and helping women feel less afraid and empower them before they give birth. And then they would disappear off the planet once they had their babies.
Yeah, no, that's so amazing though. Like that, especially to be a part of that time because you've been through it, you've been there and you know what it's like. And to kind of help guide mothers through that is so cool.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. They come in with a lot of fear and anxiety and just letting them, a big part of moga is we just sit together and the first part of the class is introductions and you just they land in the space and realize they're not alone. They look around and see a whole room full of pregnant people and who are maybe feeling the same feelings of worry and anxiety and fear, and then being like, no, this is normal feelings and it's okay. but let's all like take a deep breath together and, look at how strong you really are. Mm-hmm. Look at, that intuition that every woman has, trusting her body, trusting her baby. So many people when they're pregnant, they get just loaded on these terrible, scary stories of birth, oh, you're pregnant. Oh, listen to this story. It's like they get loaded in fear and worries. And so when they come to class, it's just like releasing those fears with the exhales, with movements, and then reminding them that their baby has their own story. It's not another person's story. Yeah. And their body, they trust their bodies, trust their babies, and getting them ready, it's like a tool. It's a tool for birth. It's just another tool in their birthing toolkit. Like, I just think about it like, if you're going to run a marathon, that's a 4 to 6 hour, well, maybe if you're fast, a 3-hour run, but you don't just run a marathon without preparing for it, right? It's the same with birth. Like, it's just another tool to help them prepare for it.
Yeah.
And,
I'm over here just like, like everything that you're saying is speaking to my soul right now because first of all, you can just tell how passionate you are about it. And it doesn't sound like it's a regular prenatal yoga class to me.
Oh,
like what you're offering is not, because when I pictured prenatal yoga, I'm like, okay, it's just like yoga for pregnant moms. And you go in and you do maybe not as hardcore and do positions that are whatever, but yours is so much more in depth, like tapping into your fears and your doubts and really tapping into your body and getting in there. And that is so cool. And for those of you who didn't catch it, she used the word moga, which I had never heard before, which I love because it's like yoga for moms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, I love that. Moga.
Yeah. So now that this is my jam, teaching prenatal yoga, and when the moms would disappear, I'd be like, okay, I got to see these moms again. I'll do a mom and baby class, and then they'd all come back, in the, we call it the haze. The first 3 months after baby's born is like this kind of haze, and the fog kind of clears, and then they start coming. They're like, okay, now I can, get a breath of fresh air and come to class. And so you see them with their new babies, and then you just remind them that they've got this, motherhood is a crazy journey. And then in Moga, we're all about sensory yoga experiences for babies. So, sight, sounds, movement, touch, lots of singing, and then lots of movements where you tickle baby, or you bring like a rattle to class or a blanket, and you know those great cotton, like the muslin cotton blankets that are soft. You can use them to stretch straight out as a prop and get a nice chest opener. And then you can use it to open up and just drape over baby. So just lots of ways that they can use it at home too. We teach them in class, and then they can go home and use it. But most of all, they just want to get out of the house. They feel pretty isolated. Most of them just realize they want to get out. And when we started Moga online, we thought, we're going to get all these moms doing mom and baby yoga at home and prenatal yoga at home. But it was like crickets, we're like, why aren't moms loving our online videos? They're amazing. And then we realized because they want to get out of the house. They don't want to do yoga at home. They don't want to do prenatal yoga at home. They want to be in a room full of women and feel the power of that. And they want to meet other, Mogas about building communities. So we have so many friendships that start, in a Moga class. Like, oh, hey, my due date's close to your due date. You want to hang out?
Yeah, that's what, it does. You find women who are in the same season of life as you, and it's so relatable. And I love it because I think one thing that we're lacking so much in our culture now is just that sense of community. And you get into that community and that community of other women, and it is a safe place where you can come and make those friendships and kind of go through that experience together. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are in the prenatal yoga and then they come back after the haze and they're like, oh my gosh, like, like, let me see your baby.
Yes, it's really sweet. And then you see them, they have 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and they're still friends from a moga class.
Wow.
And they've come back with, their second pregnancy or third. At one time I had a fourth. Wow. I'm like, oh, yeah. So it's such a beautiful way to, support women in another way. I find, yoga isn't for everyone.
Right.
And a lot of the mom and baby, they don't really care about the yoga. They just want to get out and meet other moms and have a routine in their day. The prenatal is more, they actually need it to feel good in their bodies because their hips are sore, their low backs are sore, they're tired. They're, and then they feel so much better after moving, and their doctors are recommending to move in a low impact, which yoga is perfect for.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of first time people to yoga in prenatal, which is really nice because it's kind of just like introducing them to this secret of, not a secret, like just how good it feels to move and breathe and and rest after like a shavasana, like laying in stillness for 10, 12 minutes, like hand on your belly and connecting with your baby. Like we just don't do that nowadays. We're go, go, go. We go to work. We sit at our computers. We sit on transit or we sit in our cars, and then we get home, we make dinner, we sit in front of the TV, and we're not moving, or our brains are just so busy. We don't get that time to just connect with your like growing miracle in your body, right?
Yeah. Well, and to be like intentional with your movements and with that time, because it's like, even when I work out, I'm usually not even really connected to my workouts. I'm like going through the motions, or, I've been training for a half marathon. So it's like I go for my runs, I listen to podcasts. I feel great when I do it, but I'm usually not, like, I'm still listening to a podcast or music, and it's not that disconnected and being intentional really in my body and being connected to what I'm doing, which, I mean, during pregnancy is the most amazing time in the world to do that, is to take that time and just really connect with yourself and just recognize how amazing your body is for what it's doing.
Yes, exactly. Yoga is one of the best ways to drop into the body. Exactly what you're talking about.
So you said yoga might not be for everyone. So I have a problem with yoga. So I did it years ago. And I've been telling myself for about 2 years now, I need to get back into yoga. I need to get back into yoga. And I have such a resistance. And I don't know why. Like, I can't bring myself to go.
You just haven't found the right instructor and the right type of yoga.
Yeah.
You need to find a type of yoga and an instructor that speaks to you. Mm-hmm. I would just do you have a passport to prana or a lot of different cities have it where they have a little passport to prana is like another word for life force. So they just say, yoga helps your prana flow, like life force flow. So this passport to prana, you can try out a whole bunch of yoga studios, a whole bunch of, different yoga classes. I think like what kind of, do you like the flow, like sweating type, or do you like?
No, it depends for me. And it's weird because my husband tries to get me to go because he's actually a certified yoga instructor.
Oh, that's amazing.
He loves yoga. In the winter or in the summers, he doesn't go as much, but in the winter he goes a lot more. And this year he talked about like wanting to get back into teaching. And he's like, well, you should try out this class. You should try out that class. So I agree. I do think that that's good advice for anybody like who's like, well, I don't know, yoga might not be for me. Like, try out different classes, try out different instructors, talk to people, be like, hey, where do you go? What class do you go to? Because there are so many different kinds out there, and you can find one that, is a lot more restful in a yin, or you can find one where you're in a hot class and sweating and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm working out really hard right now, or there's there is tons of different kinds, and there is tons of different benefits. So I would love to get into some of the benefits with you as well. What?
I wish right now, Elizabeth, that I could have you in my yin and aromatherapy class.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's my jam. I like slow, deep stretches.
Yeah, because I have Tuesday nights yin and aromatherapy, and it's sold out, like it's packed, and I just get really good tunes, and I just help them land, and then me and my assistant, do a little neck massage on the back of their heads with an oil, with an essential oil, and then they just lay there, and then they do different like deep stretches. We do a little cat and cow, maybe a downward dog, just to kind of move the body, like. Because yin yoga is a really cool type of yoga too. It's, I think you'd like it. So try out like. Our moga yoga is hatha, like the nice hatha yoga, like changes. It's like the ha and the ta, the sun and the moon, like it's changing with the seasons. So that's why I love it. It's not like it's always fluid, and that's why it works so well with moga. But maybe I think you just got to try out something like a special series. Like look for a special series like yin and aromatherapy with a teacher you've heard is good in your town and try it out.
Yeah. Well, I think that's good advice for people kind of like looking to get into it too, because there are tons of different kinds. And just even listening to you speak about this, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have to become a yoga certified instructor and learn all these things that Hannah does because she's awesome and helping all these women. And I want to do that now too. And I'm like, wait, I don't do yoga. I need to start doing yoga. But like, what are some of the benefits of prenatal yoga?
Yeah. So benefits. Well, the first thing is that it helps you connect with your baby and your body, dropping out, from living in our brain and buzzing on our phones to like being in our body, being with our baby, and then honoring, like the big part of moga and our teacher training is just, honoring baby space in every pose. So now moga is 100% like all we do is teach yoga teachers how to do what we do in their communities, because we realized moms want to get out when they're expecting and postpartum. And we want to show yoga teachers how to teach this in their communities. So all our training is certified through Yoga Alliance. It's all online, and they're beautiful videos. We have 4 ready to teach sequences. You don't even have to think about what you want to teach. We've got resources. I've got midwives in it. I've got pelvic floor physios who talk about the importance of pelvic floor, because that's huge. And we talk about that too, like the importance of the pelvic floor, because most women and I say this in my prenatal yoga classes, is their pelvic floor is working so hard holding up the baby and all the organs. It's like a trampoline and the springs are really tight. And then when they go to give birth, they have to completely relax that for 40 weeks or, how long baby is in there. The springs have been so tight that the idea of releasing that is really hard. So like, doing pelvic floor exercises and explaining them, how that relaxing the face will help, relaxing the mouth will help relax the cervix, relaxing the jaw will help relax your pelvis and your hips. Everything's connected, like surrendering into your contractions. Will help bring if you think good, strong surges bring my baby closer to me, instead of being like, oh God, here comes another one, clench down, instead of being like releasing sound and surrendering and softening, these kind of things, a lot of that we talk about in our trainings too, like how all these yoga poses, making them, you just make them safe and appropriate for pregnancy, give space to baby. All of it can help. And one of the main things that yoga helps with prenatal yoga is positioning of baby in the pelvis.
Oh, yeah. Which is huge. Like that, huge. People don't realize if your baby's not in the right position, like that completely changes your labor and your experience. Like a lot of the longer labors, your baby isn't in the right position. So it's trying to work into that while you're laboring, and it makes it so much harder on the body. But if your baby is in the great position, you're more likely to have a way shorter labor and more likely to have way less interventions.
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it. You got it.
Yeah.
So like when we spend time on all fours, so we help the positioning of baby in the pelvis so that they're looking down at the tailbone. So that we want so the ones that are associated with back labor, they're called stargazers, right? Their occiput is to the posterior of the mom's body. So they're an OP baby. So that means their occiput, the baby's head, it puts constant pressure against the mom's tailbone. And this is like a wider diameter baby's head needs to pass through the pelvis instead of being like baby faces down. They look down towards the tailbone, and then the occiput is tucked. And that small part of the head is what presents when she goes into labor. So like that all is all about moving and being on all fours and hip circles and cat and cow, and just like even when you're at home, watching Netflix, like leaning forward on a chair instead of reclining in a couch can help, with positioning. But yeah, it's huge. Like women who plan on having a natural birth at, hospital, home, midwife clinic, birthing clinic, wherever, it's like the pain of back labor that they can't handle. Not of the pain of the contractions. It's that back labor that they're like, oh my gosh, this is not what I expected.
Right.
It's a lot harder to birth baby. Like I know a lot of women who have amazing, our bodies are so strong. But like you want to set yourself up for the ideal situation here. And yoga really helps with that.
Well, and I think it goes back to what you were saying before about like, okay, well, you can train for a marathon. Like you're not just going to go run one. And a lot of people don't think you have to train for giving birth, but you do. It's so important to be educated on what your body's doing, the work that you need to do beforehand. Because honestly, it's not like it's tons of work. You can do these moves, go to a class, you can, it's just basically exercise and nutrition that really, really help support a really healthy labor. But obviously there's some things that are completely out of control that go different ways. But it is, if you have a posterior baby, it's so much harder to get the baby out. But when they are in position, it helps. And even what you're saying, just like surrendering to those contractions, like a lot of the work that we do as doulas is helping them release during those contractions, because you want to tense up, but that's not working with your body. So it's relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, like relaxing your body to let go.
As soon as we're launching our prenatal yoga teacher training in November, and I'm going to gift it to you, Elizabeth, because you're going to love it as a doula.
Thank you. Yeah. That's so nice.
Yeah. You're going to take it. And I mean, you can do it in, I'd say like 2 weekends. Usually people take about 3 to 4 months to get through everything. Actually, no, it depends. I've had a lot of people do it in 3 weeks, like 3 weekends, taking breaks, because it's movies, it's a manual, it's 4 sequences. They do an online exam, but I'm going to send it to you so you know exactly what I think you'd love it. With your background?
I would. I already texted my husband while you were talking, and I was like, I think I should become a yoga teacher now.
Yeah.
I have this thing that
training.
I should. I would love it. And honestly, there's a need in this area that I live in now for that. Because that's one thing that I notice is just, there isn't a huge, like in a lot of different places, there's tons of mommy things, but there's not tons for when you're pregnant or a new mom. And that's why I just love what you're doing, because like you said, you realize these women want to get out of the house and meet up, but it's nice to meet up with people who are in that similar phase and doing the same things I guess you are. So that is so cool. Thank you so much. You're so nice.
Oh yeah. You are so welcome. I want you to experience how amazing it is. And we just want, people to know this is out there. Like, we bring yoga teachers quality training so they can make a real impact on mothers in their communities. Like, that's what we want. That's the goal of Moga right there.
I would love for you to talk a little bit more about maybe the benefits of the Mommy and Me yoga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mom and baby yoga is so special. I just actually wrote a blog post yesterday about like the fear of teaching babies because the idea of being a yoga teacher and then teaching a room full of new moms with babies can be really daunting. And we just want to, tell yoga teachers that, this is crying babies is something that's going to happen, but there's all these different tools we have for them to help with that. So yeah, it's a really special class. I love it. There is singing, which it's surprising. We give our teachers like a list of like, songs, they can, in our sequences, I actually write out like, this is where like legs are like, straddle, and you're singing like Itsy Bitsy Spider with, hand movements, or you do this little piggy or patty cake, because you forget those songs. Mm-hmm. And so, or even singing ABCs, like everyone knows ABCs, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're not a singer and you teach a class, like even just singing ABCs are something that everyone knows and can hum along with you. But it's you get them in. Moga again is all about community, so we get them to introduce themselves. We check in with a question. What one word would describe motherhood right now to you? This phase, and so it changes every week, right?
Yeah.
And then usually they're babies. Sometimes we say for postpartum, 6 weeks post-vaginal delivery, 8 weeks post-C-section, around there, or they want to come earlier, they have to get a clearance from their doctor. But most of them are coming with really wee ones, like 10 weeks, 11 weeks, or 4 months, 5 months. As long as they're pre-crawlers, they can come. And I had one mom who had a baby who came when she was newborn to 11 months because she just didn't walk. She had 2 older brothers who just brought her everything. So she didn't crawl or walk. So her mom could do the Moga classes forever.
Yeah. Wow.
Because she just sat there at the on her blanket and waved her arms and smiled the whole time. But, it's so special. Mm-hmm. And, I say it gets them out. They're all tired and they have this sense right away, like, oh, I'm not in this journey alone. I'm not isolated. And a lot of them say to me, it was so nice just to connect with my baby. I feel like I'm on autopilot with like endless laundry, trying to prepare meals. Like, I feel like I don't get the time to just sit and be with my baby. And, you're stretching as well. So you get that, moms are always hunched over. Mm-hmm. If they're breast or bottle feeding, doesn't matter. Their postures are pretty, and in pregnancy does not the best things to posture too with as belly gets bigger. And then those bad habits in pregnancy, usually go into postpartum. So it's, helping them regain their core safely. And so many things now are obsessed about, getting your body back. Look at her. She got her beautiful body back so fast. It's like, you don't want to push yourself. It took you 9 months to make a baby. Just give your body the time it needs to settle. And again, pelvic floor physios, you want to see those. They're part of our postpartum training too. Yeah. And you don't want to push yourself too hard to get clearance from your pelvic floor physio first. You don't want to be, leaking when you're sneezing or running, or you don't want the heaviness. If you experience heaviness, that might be prolapse. So it's just like, it's a gentle way of coming back, a gentle way of educating them about the deep core the pelvic floor, and then, you know, getting a stretch, meeting other women, watching their baby. Oh, so it's so funny. Sometimes you see these babies laughing at, like, you know, she's up in this lunge with her arms going back and forth, like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And you've got this baby giggling at the top of the mat. It's so cute.
Oh, that is cute.
And then for the moms that, you know, are the teachers that are afraid of teaching screaming babies, you just get everyone standing up and they start like bobbing around to the room to some music with a good beat or some reggae, and then they walk around and meet other moms, and then we swish our hips around, and then we might stop and do a tree pose. So it's like, if they're screaming babies, there's always like tools to get them to reset, like all the babies to reset, you know?
Yeah. I loved what you said about, you know, kind of, I have to get my body back. Like there is, I feel like with social media, there is pressure because these women post, there is like the postpartum movement of like, this is postpartum, and they have their postpartum body photo, but there also is the, oh, this is me 4 months postpartum and I almost have my abs back people too. Yes. And it's so hard not to be in that comparison. But, talking with a pelvic floor specialist before as well, they were also saying like, it's so, so important to do a lot of the work. Like the way that you are healthier after is doing the work before and during, and then letting yourself recover after and letting yourself heal. Like you just, like either you pushed a baby out or you had a C-section, and both are major things that your body went through. And, you know, if you are doing work to prepare beforehand and during, and then after you have your baby, letting yourself heal, letting yourself ease back into things. And so many of them have stressed the importance of not pushing yourself, because that is like, even if you don't see some of the negative effects right away, you might long-term with the next baby or later on when you do have, you know, different pelvic floor issues or whatever it is, that it is so important to allow yourself that time to heal and go slow and, you know, start with something that you're not going crazy on.
Exactly. And I don't know, like I say it so many times, be gentle on yourself, like gentle and rest, and that rest and nurture, like learn your new body, learn your new baby. You both are learning how to navigate the world together. So like give yourself a break, you know, like really be gentle. And no matter how much I say, they're still like pushing themselves. Like you know, I'll hear like, oh, I should have just listened, but I just really, you know, I just wanted to, you know, get back to the gym and hit the pavement, or, you know, it's like, it's this obsession that our society has really ingrained in them and celebrated. We celebrate women we don't celebrate. Look at her, who she, you know, I just heard an interview the other day and heard like Dido took 10 years off her career to raise, or something like that, to raise her child. I mean, I thought, why aren't we celebrating her on the front of a cover? Like she took so much time for her to raise her baby. Like how great is that? Like celebrating the mothers that really take whatever time is like possible in their lives. But like, look at her celebrating being, you know, a new mother and taking the time to nurture her body and not push back and get, you know, that lose the weight. Like, I mean, sometimes it's just genetics. I have students who have a 6-week-old and they look like they're, you know, a year postpartum. And I mean, you look at me and people ask me, like, I'm a yoga teacher and I still, my friend's daughter is like, do you have a baby in your tummy? And I mean, and I have a 7-month-old, but I'm like, I am not pushing myself. I am not going to, you know, if I was really sensitive about that, I'd be like, oh, I should be doing more than yoga and biking around. I could, you know, I have, you know, where I teach yoga, there's amazing personal trainers that that are amazing. But for me, I'm like, you know what? My focus is my 7-month-old and my 3-year-old and my business moga, and I feel like good in my body. If I want to go to spin class 3 times a week, I can do that, but not right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that your practice and the work that you do has helped you feel good in your body and be comfortable, you know, like being more in tuned in where you're at in your life, and knowing that I am doing a lot. I am working my body. I am working my mind. I am, you know, nurturing my relationships and myself. And that's what your work does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you do see, I guess, a lot more when you mentioned Dido. I guess you see a lot more on the cover of the magazine, the women who can do it all, instead of, you know, the women who are like, I took this time off to be a mom for 10 years, but it's usually like how to do it all and have it all the time. And I think that we kind of do live in that time because women were kind of suppressed. And then now it's like, we can do everything. And it's like, yeah, you can. I know for me, like it doesn't mean you have to do everything all the time. But you know, it's kind of, definitely highlighted out there more than not, which I think is where you see a lot of like stay-at-home mom communities kind of like come together, and there's a lot more talk about that and how it's like, no, this is more than a full-time job. This is more than, you know, like I am working and doing it all too. It just looks different than how yours does.
Exactly. And I say to students, like, once you're in labor, create your bubble. Like, create a bubble. No more social media, no more Twitter, no more Instagram, no more texting everyone. You're in it. Like, be present. Create your safety bubble. And when baby comes, like, same thing. You don't need to take all the visitors right away. Like, let your body settle and heal, and don't feel bad if you're like, just drop a freezer meal off at my door. Like, don't, you know, I don't need, you know, even having a visitor is draining. Like, just get them to drop you off some food at your door. That's it. Because all you want when you're postpartum and healing is, you know, you're starving all the time. Like, whole foods, whole meals. Like, don't, like, let whoever is supporting you in your life be the one, like, texting and be like, yeah, hey, we love you, but, you know, right now, can you just leave us food at the door? Like, we're just, we're in that space. And I tell them, like, create your bubble. You don't have to have everyone over. Like, when you're, and I learned this the hard way. I had a birth photographer, like, or not a birth, a postpartum, like when baby's like 24 to 48 hours old. And I had all these people visit me because it was my second baby. And I was like, oh, I've got this. You know, literally I had a 4-hour labor and I pushed her out in 12 minutes in a birthing pool. Yeah. Like, I was like, yeah, like totally doing my yoga squats. Like, you know, my midwives were like, you made that look so easy. Postpartum, and then like my body crashed. Like, I think I was 6 days postpartum. And then I had an engorgement fever and I was shaking on the floor of my house, like a leaf going like, and I thought, I pushed myself too much. Like, you say this all the time to your students, no visitors, just take it easy, relax, eat some good nourishing foods, lots of tea, lots of baths, get to know your body. And then here I am having like photo shoots, getting everyone over. Like, I'm totally not doing what I teach. So like, I learned it the hard way that my body needed to rest and fast. And I just was pushing it too much.
Everything's always so much easier said than done, huh?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, I feel like I'm inspired to go back to yoga after talking to you. And well, for everyone who's listening, where can they find out more about Moga and more about you?
So Moga is mogamoms.com. And we have our mom and baby yoga teacher training that is online already. So they can join us on that journey, or our prenatal launches on November 1st. So they can pre-order it now. And it is an amazing training. I watched it again. I thought I'd actually want to watch this as I was going to give birth, because it gives you everything you need to know, like all the info. But it's like, as a teacher, you'll feel so confident in teaching pre and postnatal yoga. And you don't just have to be a yoga teacher. It's like Pilates instructor, personal trainers, people that, because we give you all the tools you need, like the full sequences, the marketing. We've got thousands of photos from a beautiful images like we've taken. We've got waivers. It's basically yoga, like a business in a box for yoga teachers, so they can bring this to their communities. Because as you said, like when you take a prenatal yoga class, like there's not a lot of offerings. Sometimes you're pregnant, you're like, what can I do?
Yeah.
Like we want people to think, when you think of yoga, we want people to think of moga. Like, I'm pregnant, I'm going to do a moga prenatal class. And when I'm postpartum, a moga mom and baby, because I know that the instructors are well trained and they're going to empower me in this intense time in my life. So mogamoms.com. And we also have a section that we're in 5 countries now. So starting to expand, where all of our instructors are listed under like find a moga class. So for the States, we're in Texas and Florida so far. And I've got a person taking it in California and another one in Philadelphia. So we're getting like, teachers are like, oh, I didn't even know you're, online. And yes, I can do my training online. And we still have the quality of, moga classes, because they submit me with like, their final exam is a 20-minute class of them teaching. So it's a humbling experience watching yourself teach a class. It's 10 to 25 minutes, but yeah, you notice that you say or
right, yeah.
So you can go to mogamoms.com and find us there. Our Instagram is @moga yoga trainings.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Hannah, for coming on and sharing your spirit and your passion for moga and the benefits of doing it while you're pregnant and after, and just educating us on yoga for
you are so welcome.
National Yoga Awareness Month.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, and we will talk to you soon.
Sounds great.
I am feeling so empowered by these women today, by Jen and by Hannah. The work that they are doing is absolutely amazing, and how they are helping people get into a mindful place, how the health benefits, the emotional benefits, creating community, healing. Oh my gosh. They're just such awesome women. If you guys do want to check out Hannah's moga teacher training coming up, I'll post some of that information as well. They're just so awesome. Seriously, I'm just like, they're so awesome. If you guys do want to be a part of an awesome community, you can also join our Miraculous Mamas Facebook page. The women there rock. They are awesome. Also follow the Miraculous Mamas Instagram accounts. I always post more information on the guests. And besides that, just also in the stories throughout the week, just nutritional facts, just tons of little like tidbits of either education or information, or even just something that's really funny regarding parenting. I try to make it a resource for women to come. You can also check out my website, elizabethjoy.co. There's a lot of blogs on there for moms, for trying to conceive. I'm going to be sharing my trying to conceive journey on there and the steps that I'm taking toward that. And yeah, you guys, I'm so grateful for you. And I loved being able to share a review last week. And I wanted to do it again just because we all need our cups to be filled sometimes. And honestly, this is what fills my cup, is hearing feedback from you guys and knowing that you're getting something out of this podcast, and that you are I don't know, in this with me, because I don't feel like I am doing this alone. I feel like I'm doing this with you guys, and hearing that you are invested in the work and that you're a part of this community just keeps me going and keeps my cup full. And so I wanted to share another review with you guys. And if this is you, let me know, because I want to send you something. It's GR Law is the username. Said, absolutely love Liz in this podcast. She's dedicated, sweet, funny, and wears her heart on her sleeve. Love listening to her involvement and dedication to her Facebook group as well. Go Liz. Thank you so much. That is so nice. I love the Facebook group, you guys. Seriously, these women are absolutely amazing, and they come together and try to help each other out in whatever season you are in. And that's really what life is about, is building that community around you and feeling seen and heard, and that you're not alone, and being able to connect and get your cup full and know that you're a good mom. You are a good mom. Like, everybody makes mistakes. There's days where you're going to feel off. There's days where you're going to feel like you can't do it anymore. There's days where you're like, man, I am awesome. And you know what? You are exactly what your kid needs. You are a great mom. And, yeah, I just love you guys so much. I cannot wait for you to join us next week on the podcast, and feel free to reach out to me. You guys know where to find me. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.